Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching this. Welcome to another edition of Talk of the Tiger. I'm your host, Paul Brown, and he is Jim Peterik. Good morning, Jim. How are you today?
Oh, hey Paul, living the dream as always. Feeling good. Feeling good. Yeah, a lot to unpack today.
Yeah, you and Karen just got back from a really cool vacation down in Costa Rica. Tell us about it.
Pretty amazing. Talk about God's country and the climate and the um wildlife and the nature. And we went to five different cities. And they were all the climate was like all like 75, 80, 83. And we were with a group of people, so that always kept it interesting. A lot of bus travel, but once we got to those destinations, it was heaven, and so much wildlife and monkeys, and you just can't even believe all the wildlife you see. And the of course the iguanas and all these weird reptiles that you don't see in Berwyn.
Unless you go to Brookfield.
Well, that's different.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, these are out running around.
They're
So
they're running around. Woo!
yeah, and the pictures you sent, that's was beautiful down there. I'm glad you guys had a great time. That's just seems like such an incredible place.
I know. It's just hard coming back to the weather that we faced. As soon as we got in, it was snowing and back to
Minus
Chicago.
is below zero and all that stuff. Yep.
All that.
Genuine Chicago winter.
Ay, yeah.
Yeah, I know. All right. So back to the music. Since the last time we spoke, Roots and Shoots, excuse, be official, Jim Peterik's World Stage, Roots and Shoots Volume 1, released on January 12th on Frontiers, and it has been doing very well. We've got two videos out, and let's talk about it.
Well, the reaction has been overwhelming, and of course, people are going to talk about Kevin Cronin and Aria Speedwagon, of course, Don Barnes at 38 Special. But there's so many artists on the album, hence the name Roots and Shoots. Colin Peterik, you've heard of him.
Yeah,
Uh, uh, Paul Childers, Forever's the Last Place You Look, just a super talent out of New Orleans area. Kelly Keagy, you may have heard of him. Night Ranger, Men Fences, just a really good song we co-wrote. Ashton Brooke Gill, As I Am. Jim Peterik and Mark Farner, Friends Forever, which is just a wonderful uh, friends forever, share the feeling. It's one of these swing the
yeah,
beer glass kind of a thing. Leslie Hunt, who I've been working with since she was 15. Now she's 18. Well, a little bit older, but anyway, just a super talent. Mark McKay, uh, from out of New Orleans. I found me when I found you. Great song we wrote together. Fire and Water with Dave McColskus and Lisa McLaury, who I've been working with for some time, and
yeah.
it's, just a wonderful talent. And then an unplugged version of Fire and Water, which is always nice, just to strip it all
Yeah.
down.
That's the bonus track, I believe, on the release for Japan.
Correct.
Yep. And it's worth hunting down because it's beautiful.
Ah, thank you.
Yep. So
Yeah.
um yeah, it's a great collection, and it is what it says. It's some of the ones from our generation and some of the new up and comers, some of that are kind of in the middle that may not be known as well. But what's best is that we have more coming because volume two is on its way sometime in May. And that's got new artists on both sides of the tree. So let's talk about that.
Well, yeah, this is the first time I can really reveal some of the content because the album is actually done now and we're mastering it and all that good stuff. But it's done, and that's going to release on Frontiers April or May. I'm still waiting for the exact release date. but again, a compendium of new artists and classic artists. And if I could mention a few things here, starts off with Dave Mikulskis, amazing singer who you're well aware of. The song's called American Dreamer, starts right off. And by the way, I really like it because Frontiers really weighed in on the sequence and the order of songs. And, you know, it was just great. They were really, really into volume two. It's not like they're resting on their loyals on volume one. And then the second track is really incredible. Mike Reno of Loverboy. It's called Your Own Hero. In other words, you've got to be your own hero. And Paul, you're well aware of that
Yeah.
song because on the bottom of all your texts and correspondences, you've got to be your own hero. And that's a quote from
Neil Peart, the late Neil Peart from Rush.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I stole that. I mean, I used that, his inspiration for that.
Yeah.
And thank you, Neil. Uh, and then Toby Hitchcock, who no album would be complete without a great Toby Hitchcock track, a song called All That's Mine to Give, which is a big song and it has a lyric video with it. And of course, on this album, Jason Sheff is one of the greatest singers that I've ever worked with. His father was Jerry Sheff, Elvis's bass player. Not a bad little, you know, reference point. And so talented. And when I was on vacation with Karen uh, I guess it was in Greece, and I wrote a song called "Been to the Mountain," and I wrote it on acoustic guitar. I played it for the group, uh, and wow, everybody loved it. And I finished it off, sent it to Jason. He goes, "Oh yeah." And then a song called "Forever Endeavor" with Toby Hitchcock, which is just another, I feel, a really strong song about always pushing forever to do better, to ever endeavor. We Can Fly, The Ides of March, a little group that I've been with for 60 years now.
Yeah.
March 15th, of course, as you know, the big show at the Norris Center, where with orchestra, which we're all very excited about. But anyway, We Can Fly is on Roots and Shoots Volume 2. Love Lives, Jim Peterik and the great Kathy Richardson. A song called Until that I wrote with Neil Donnell, the great singer with the group Chicago. Take a Hit of Freedom or just Hit of Freedom with Sophia Sheth, who Colin Peterik is producing. And he turned me on to Sophia and we wrote the song together. And it's really a nice song. It's like Take a Hit of Freedom and it's very uplifting. And then The Road to Forever, which I sing, but it's really dedicated to Suzanne and Dennis DeYoung because originally it was slotted for him to sing, but he couldn't schedule it in. So I sang it, not as well as Dennis, in my opinion, but I gave it a great shot. And it's a great emotion, and I really want to dedicate it to Suzanne and to Dennis.
Another one of those show business stories that's rare. You know, like you and Karen have been married forever, and Dennis and Suzanne have been married forever too. Yeah.
We're even more forever than Karen and I by
Yeah.
years. And yeah, Karen and I just turned 51 years of marriage
Awesome.
and going strong.
All right. So now let's talk about some upcoming shows. You mentioned the big Ides of March orchestra show. That is the Ides of March with a full orchestra. It's on March 15th and it's at the Norris Cultural Center in St. Charles. You tried this a few years ago at an outdoor gig in Addison and it went over really well. So let's talk about how it's grown from there.
Well, I think it's going to be even better. And that was a great show. but being outdoors, a lot gets lost. And in the beautiful North Center, everything's going to be contained and mic'd up. The orchestra is actually going to be on the stage with us uh, instead of on a riser, so we're all spread out on this huge stage, and everybody will get to see all the mechanics of the orchestra and the Ides of March. It's going to be fantastic.
That'll be awesome. I was at the one in Addison, and it's really a thing to hear all of that behind the classic Ides and Survivor and 38 songs. So, yeah, I mean, you've had a chance to practice this and develop it a little bit more. It's going to be pretty awesome. And it's the 60th anniversary. 60 years. I mean, let's not gloss over the fact that the original four of you and Bob and Mike and Larry, have been a band for 60 years. And unlike a lot of bands, it's still the original four guys,
Yeah, it's the Berwyn Beatles, only we're alive. But it's all of us. And of course, Scott May's been with us for 33 years. He's the
right?
new. Um, yeah, it's really a family. And of course, the Ides Brass, the best brass sections I've ever worked with, really. And we're very.
And what's great too, that unlike a lot of bands from your era that are just um touring with like the same songs from back then, you guys have consistently produced awesome new material all along. And I mean, it's, due to your brain, which doesn't shut off. But I mean, you guys continually put out new material that sounds as good, and you've stayed tight and you've stayed a great band. And like you said, you've all been friends since like kindergarten. Well, Bob and Larry have been friends since birth. Um,
It's
but
true.
for those that don't know that story, Bob and Larry were born was about
Yeah.
a week apart in the same hospital, and their mothers shared a room in the maternity ward. So Bob and Larry have been friends since birth.
Boy, friends forever. Yeah,
Absolutely, yes.
it's
That's the
crazy.
definition of it. So,
I know.
and then from there, the big orchestra show. We got some intimate shows coming up too. February 15th and 16th up at Hey Nani in Arlington Heights. It is Jim Peterik and friends, which could be anybody.
I have a lot of friends. I know that Colin is going to be a part of that. Uh, Colin Peterik, you may have heard of him.
I may have.
Yeah. Yeah, Colin Peterik and a surprise guest. So yeah, two Hey Nani shows. I love that venue. Very intimate. We always pack the place. 2 nights in a row. They'll be a little different. Each night will be a little bit different. And I get to do some fun things like a jingle medley, which I love to do because I had all these famous commercials. Now that you've had a drink, oh, what a time to think I should have had a V8. I mean, stuff that everybody remembers, and that always brings down the house because commercials, jingles are such a big part of our lives.
Yeah, and for those new fans who aren't aware of that, during that time between when the Ides took a break and Survivor was, and the Jim Peterik band and Survivor was kind of forming and getting together, you did a lot of jingle work because there was a lot of that happening in Chicago in the studios here.
Oh my
And
God. Yeah, I like to say I worked for the three Dicks, which sounds very disrespectful. It was Dick Boyle, Dick Reynolds, and uh, Dick Marks, all the Dicks, and they were all fantastic people. But it's just a funny way to say it because they all happen to be called Dick.
yeah, and that's also where you ran into Dave Bickler. So, I mean that
Oh,
whole thing all just turned out, as a continuing part of the Jim Peterik story. So,
oh, I remember, the sessions with Dave Bickler. We were both doing jingles, and between takes, he's with the sci-fi book on the sides. I mean, he was just still as a big science fiction nut, and Dave's just a great guy.
yep. And then uh 2 days later, on February 18th, that's a Sunday, you guys all head on out to Valparaiso to my place, the Chicago Street Theater. And you've been playing there for 20 some years at this point. But in the last few years, we've had the, as we call it, the Jive Five, which is the original four of you old guys, and the young kid, Scott May, coming out and do a very fun, intimate stories and songs acoustic show.
I love Chicago Street Theater, not just because you it's your jam, but it's very intimate, and the people just are so attentive, and it's great playing for an audience like that who are expecting the best, and we try to deliver.
That's why I started the series all those years ago, is in it, not a loud, noisy bar or club. It's like people would sit down and listen to the songs and then applaud when the time was right. So, I'm just so thrilled that I get to have true rock legends on my stage. So that'll be
Yeah, but
fun.
we'll be there anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah, man,
yeah,
anyway.
yeah. So. All right. And then we have another little road trip coming up in March. Now, this was supposed to happen in December, but the logistics didn't work out.
Mhm.
Down in Memphis, Jimmy Jameson's, he had quite a bit of memorabilia at the Hard Rock Cafe. There was a big bronze bust that was commissioned right after he passed away, and some of his outfits and some stuff. And then the Hard Rock closed,
Yeah.
and what was going to happen to that was up in the air. And nobody in Memphis wanted to see that just go into a warehouse somewhere or end up somewhere else. So there was a lot of effort put into um, bringing it to another place in Memphis. One of the people who's really pushing for that was Jimmy's longtime friend and ours, Gwen Smith. And another iconic music venue in Memphis, Lafayette's Music Room, said, we'd love to have it. So they worked it out with the Hard Rock Company, and all of Jimmy's memorabilia is going to be on a permanent display at Lafayette's. And so Scott Innes, another friend of Jimmy's who was in radio in Memphis and now is elsewhere, is coming into town to put on this big benefit show, and you are part of it.
Yes, and you're coming with me.
I am.
Yeah, this is great. Are you going to sing?
I don't think they want that, but
You know, the background stuff. You
I'm
sing in
okay.
choir, you never know.
Enough beer.
Well, you're welcome to.
Yeah. It's yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's kind of like the jam for Jimmy's that we had been doing for a number of years. It's gonna be a bunch of Jimmy's friends, local and some, national stars coming in. And it's a big party to celebrate Jimmy and to celebrate the fact that his stuff is staying in Memphis where it belongs. And
Well, yeah,
it's
and Scott Innes is a classic. Of course, he was the voice of Scooby-Doo,
mhm.
and really a great singer on his own, although he underplays that.
Yeah. We'll have more details about that when it's all the details are finalized, and I'll get that posted. So if you want to come into town for that, or if you're in that area, it's definitely going to be a lot of fun. So um, we're looking forward to that.
Yeah,
So
me too.
I believe we've talked about a lot of stuff. I think that's enough for this time, and I will let you get on with your day. And then I will sit here and I will slave over a hot computer and edit all this and get it posted.
Make
And
make me make me look good. Yeah,
oh yeah, yeah,
yeah.
I've got that thing that puts hair up here for me. So all right.
Well, that was a pleasure, Paul, and thank you for doing all you do. Talking
Yeah,
to the Tiger still rocks.
my honor. You're
All
welcome.
right, man.
Have a good day, everybody. Thanks.
Yeah.
And remember, if you want to keep seeing this stuff, make sure you subscribe. And if you hit that little notification thing, you'll get notices when we drop a new one. So do that. Everybody have a good week, and we will talk to you next time from Eye of the Tiger. It's Paul and Jim.
Rock
Bye.
on.
Great God in heaven, you know I love you.